Right, it's the 3rd of June and I've had quite a busy day. I've done 3 different things today, but I want to go to the first thing in particular and the third thing in particular. The first thing is I was at Mind, and there's some people there that were also there the same day I was there, on the 14th of January 2026, when I first knew Ella. Now, they brought that person's name up because they knew that I liked that person, and they must have been watching me, or that's what came in the discussion, in the conversation. I won't say who mentioned it, but in the middle of that conversation, because obviously I was just a bit kind of tipsy because I had a lot of vodka the night before. There were 3 specific days in January where I still felt tipsy. The next day, where I was drinking very, very large amounts of vodka, nearly a litre bottle of vodka in one night, when I was in a sort of bad situation of struggling to find anyone, and I sort of ended up increasing the drink. I've gone down a little bit, obviously, but anyway, in the conversation, they think, to what they could sense of Ella, is that she doesn't really like Justin, which is me. That's what they said in conversation, and they could pick up something when they saw me on that day. Also, they think that she has a boyfriend as well. So, just supposing these people that go to Mind are right, she wouldn't have been single on that day I knew her. However, that can't be guaranteed. I don't know. I wasn't paying much attention because I was sort of feeling wobbly, sort of, but happy, but I couldn't get the thing is, it's difficult to give contact details, you see, when it's on the first day that you know her, like Facebook or Google Chat or whatever, or phone numbers. It needs to be built up, but she didn't arrive after that specific day ever again. Although people have been saying that she's in a relationship, or saying that she's been made pregnant, that could just be to throw me off of wanting to get to know Ella more. It could be, I don't know, but the information that's given could be false information. But if it's not good. But I'm gonna have to knock it on the head with this specific person, even though that is unfolding in all my old school jungle tracks spiritually, that name Ella, and there's so many different suggestions, and it's even hitting the Hard Leaders CD and Twin Bass Days of Reality, spelled D-A-Z-E. That is sort of opening up everywhere, because it sort of makes when you listen to that specific track, it seems to make the suggestion of the appearance of Ella, sorry. So yeah, this is uncovering that every day. There's over 250 tracks, jungle tracks, that are making that suggestion. There's also right across the Cryo Chamber Dark Ambient series. It's right across some of the New Age or meditation music, like Llewellyn, for example. This is right through everything. And there's also a goddess name as well, meaning the divine, or suggestion, which is very similar to Jesus Christ, but with a female name. And there's also with the media, they've made some mistakes, or adverts that are not British, making the suggestion that I'm actually with this specific person in a sexual relationship, but they've taken it away if that was to be the case. And there's no guarantee, if she actually likes me, to the information that I heard in a conversation earlier today. So I'm sort of confused. Right, the second part of the day, I just saw John for a bit, and the third part of the day is where I had the clairvoyant psychic reading, because this specific girlfriend that was been predicted has fallen through, and yesterday is the final stage of where that girlfriend was going to come into my life. So I decided to have another psychic reading, which was very difficult to find, but there was one that was doing it, and luckily she's a psychic and not just a tarot reader. So as it stands, she picks up on me. She thinks I'm overeating a little bit, actually. She says you're quite a calm person. Says you rarely get stressed out, and says you seem to be a lot more calm in the past days, even though you're struggling with finding anyone, because she picked up on that as well. But she didn't actually pick up on anything of the predicted girlfriends that the psychics mentioned 2 months ago, whenever it was. She didn't mention anything at all about that, nothing. So so when they gave me those readings, they predicted me a girlfriend between May, the middle of May, but the final stage would be June. They said it probably won't even go into June. If so, it won't be more than the first 2 days. Those 2 days are up. It's now the 3rd, not the 2nd. So this is why I wanted to get a psychic reading, because I wanted to see why it's fallen through. So yeah, we'll come to the bit that's difficult to explain in a minute, but I just want to give you some information. Again, just like the psychics mentioned, going back 2 months ago, whenever it was, just under 2 months ago, she did pick up on the issue of there's going to be lots of trouble if I move. She senses you need to be careful and play careful where you move to, and she says it's going to get worse. You're going to feel more low, and things are going to get a lot worse, and you're going to get a lot of people start on you, because people like to start on people that they don't like or don't know. So she did mention that, and she said it could turn out to be a very serious situation, and said it's best to be avoided and to play it carefully before you make that step. And she said it's to, she said she can't, again, like I was told back in April or May whenever I had the reading, I can't remember now. She basically said you need, I think it's gone out of my head. Let me just think a second. Why it's gone out of my head, I do not know. But basically, yes, to play it careful. But obviously she can't give that information. She can't tell me to not move or move. She's just doing it as like a guide. She says, it's up to you what you do. You make your own choice in life. I'm not going to tell you whether you can move or whether you don't move or whatever. That's what I went out of my head. As far as the situation goes now, she said it's going to be some more unfortunate situations you're going to have to face. You're going to get a bit of trouble, but it says we all get it. We all have to face these times in life. So, because she didn't mention anything about a girlfriend or anything like that, I said, what was it? Is there any good news when it comes to finding anyone? Because I'm 44 years of age, and right through my whole life I've not found anyone at all. Not a single partner. So she drew a blank initially on that. Give me a few tarot cards. We started with the death card, but it doesn't always mean that it's the most negative card in the pack. It just means a changeover or something coming to an end and something new coming forwards. And the second card was actually the Lover's card. But not much. I can give that information in a minute. And then the third card was the Ace of Cups. So 3 cards that she gave me. Because she's a psychic, she does it slightly different, I guess. I didn't pick 10 cards or anything like that. It's just 3 that she picked out while she was doing the psychic reading. So she gave me a bit of information on it. Some of it's a bit of irrelevant. It said, but through the psychic point of view, she says it's not looking like you're going to find anyone at this minute in time, and you're going to have to face that ongoing struggle of waiting until that person comes into your life. And then she did like a psychic reading to try and gather more information from the spirit world, and saying that maybe online or using a dating site may help with the issue. Now, I didn't back chat her or say I can't do that easy because they're all scammers or anything like that, but she did make it sound like if I'm going to get anyone, you're only going to get at someone that's online. She didn't make it sound like you're going to initially get someone in person, socializing or anything like that. So I did ask her, so what about in the field of socializing? I go to like religious places, sometimes I go to mind centre, I go to places like that, and I say, is there any chance of there going to be any relationship that takes place from these places, or if you go into a cafe and sit down and wait for a while? So I had to do a bit of asking questions. So she was feeding off a little bit, but I needed to get that I need that spiritual information. So unfortunately she drew a blank on that. She says it's just something you're going to have to keep doing or keep trying and hope that it comes, but she thinks that your best bit is to do it online, like on Facebook or a dating site or something like that. For some reason, when I sort of mentioned the socializing to try and find someone like that, she doesn't seem to have much hope. But here's the exciting bit, because I just mentioned to her at the end of the reading that I've had a psychic prediction from just under 2 months ago, something like that. I can't remember when the date was now. And I said I was predicted a girlfriend between the middle of May and before the 2nd of June. Believe it or not, the name she gave is not what the clairvoyant gave. It was not what the two psychics gave. And it's a name that's through Ella, and I'm not making that up either. Well, I haven't seen her since January 14th. So that is very interesting information, to say the least. Yeah, that's all been put through. No, she worded it slightly different. She made it sound that you're not going to a specific place where you know this person and all the connection's not there. So she sort of said that, and then I sort of worked out what's gone on. They've deliberately messed it up, if that was to be the case. That's why I haven't seen her since. So I don't know how that's going to be replaced if this was to be the case. I mean, it's only a reading, but it's a very serious bit of information, and I'm not very happy, to say the least, because there's absolutely no one I know that's single, who is good looking and not a parent. And online, I've lost contact with nearly every single person right across the internet, because they've either been scammers and found out that they can't get money off of me, so don't bother chatting, or because they found someone in that short time period. Just 2 days ago, I had someone aged 22 asking if I was single. She knew what my age was, and she said she wasn't bothered about that. She just said she liked me, and she sort of said you look really good, and she wanted to try and see if she could find someone different to the friends that she had in her friends list. Now, she's been in many relationships, but she did tell me that she survived the issue of being made pregnant, so she was never made pregnant. So she survived all that because she didn't want a child yet. but most people out there, by the age of about 23, they're all mothers right across the country. That's what's making it difficult for me to find anyone, because I'm 44 years of age, and she knows I'm that age. Unfortunately, yesterday I was in bed most of the day until night time near enough, with a hangover, and when I got the reply, she was friendly about it, she's kind, but she said that one of her friends in her smartphone contacted her as her friends found out that she's single again, and she went with that specific person, and she had to close me off to go with that person. So she was single for just under 2 days, if that, before someone else got with her. So that's another thing. And going back a couple of days before that, there was another person I was speaking to. This is on a dating site I signed up to, but I don't use it because I just sort of randomly was doing it because I was getting bored on that specific day. So just with the free credits, I just messaged her and had a chat. She's local, so 13 miles away from where I live. She did get in a relationship. Again, she's a similar age, brunette. No, yeah, she was a brunette. Julia was black hair. Sorry, I'm getting confused now. Yeah, so Julia had black hair, posh-looking sort of sexual type face. You know, I don't know how to describe it, and a bit posh-looking in the face, but in a not like a negative posh way, sort of like a really like sort of looking face that you really like, that sort of appearance. This other person that I spoke to, which I was just mentioning, she had a boyfriend that she knew for 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks, and this was Christmas just gone. So yeah, she did tell me she's got autism, which is very fitting because I don't mind if someone's got autism if they're available, because doesn't bother me. But what happened is the boyfriend was pretending to like this person, showing love to her or whatever, and she thought that he was genuine because of how much love he was giving her, and the way she thought that it's a man of her dreams, basically. But one specific night they had sex, and he was doing her. She didn't say all this, but I'm putting the story together of what happened, because I'm just sort of, what she told me meant the same, but she didn't word it as clear as I'm wording it, because she didn't want to do that. But it was good enough for her to, even go to that far in mentioning this story anyway. So as because it is a personal thing that she mentioned, but she wanted to tell me because she was a good friend. And just before I mention that, although we're not speaking anymore or anything like that, or I don't use that specific dating site because I closed it down because the credits ran out, and that's the only person I was speaking to, and there's no one else I could find on there. I just chucked the account away, basically. Yeah, so what happened is they were doing it, and he was doing her hard or whatever it was. They would, when they were having sex, and then the boyfriend said, "I don't really like you," and saying that I'm making you pregnant. And then he wouldn't come off her. He kept doing her until basically accidents occurred. But luckily she got him off just in time, but she still had to have checks. And then obviously she showed him the door. Now luckily, as it stands, she did not get pregnant, but she did get rid of that boyfriend that she was with. Now, after a discussion that, because she's one of those that moans about the age gap, she did tell me she doesn't mind speaking to me as a friend, but she will only go up to the age of 30. so I had to let that person go. So yeah, when it comes to the psychic that I saw earlier today, not that much earlier to be fair, she sort of didn't really have much hope in replacements of what's fallen through. She just says you're going to have to try online and do it that way, but she definitely made it sound like socializing is not going to be the answer of finding anyone. But I don't know, I can't rely on that. I still have to socialise because it's the only options that are left, because they're mostly scammers online. You know, you've got to you know, do it always, you know, do it in all different ways. I mean, right through my whole life, up until July last year, I've only known 7 single people who are basic looking, or very sexy looking, or attractive, right through my whole life, including school days. There's not been many single people in my life, and those 7 either didn't like me, or they preferred to go with a different type of person, and have moaned about age gaps as well. Also, one of those specific people, which was one of the sexier types, ended up in a domestic violent relationship instead of choosing me, because she wanted a person that looked harder and wanted someone that was more serious in attitude than I was. So that's what happened there. However, between July last year and today, I have made new friends, but these friends, the ones that I know in person, they're all through. Right, so let's start with the first one, which was a horse rider at Paviot's Mill, July last year, when I was doing a long walk. She was only a young person, and she started chatting to me and basically saying, "Are you single?" And I said, yeah, and I sort of had a conversation, but she had to get going on that specific day. Between 1 and 2 weeks later, I can't remember how many days after it was, but it was roughly about just a week or just over, at least a week probably. I saw her again, and she passed me, and she was talking about her new boyfriend. Just got to answer the phone a minute. Although she had a boyfriend, when she passed me this time, she wasn't as friendly as the time before. She gave me a stern look, but she didn't say anything, and the boyfriend was just speaking normally, and obviously it's definitely a new boyfriend, because she definitely told me she was single, and it's definitely the same person, but I can't remember what her name was. Actually, there's another person that passed me that smiled as well. She was a jogger, and that was down near the Spa Shop down West Coca Road. It's one of the road next to the Spa Shop. I can't remember the name of it. It's next to Daniel's Field Way or something, road or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. She smiled at me as she passed. Also in July, but whether single, I don't know. I didn't see if she had a ring on her finger or not. Now we move on to Bridport. Now, I'm not quite sure when this was. It could be as late as September, I'm not sure. No, it wouldn't have been that late. No, it'd been earlier than that. I don't know. It's in possibly August. I can't remember. Between July and September, it was in that time period. This lady came up to me. I just saw her the other day, actually, last week. But she doesn't recognise me, and obviously she's with someone, so I don't want to cause any issues. She's younger than I thought, so she's about 25. When I first saw her on that hot sunny day, going back to last year, I thought she looked around about 35ish. But I was sort of soaking wet in sweat. I wasn't paying much attention. It was the last bus home. But then I saw her again and I sort of looked at her a bit more clearly when there was a bit of cloudy weather as well. About 2 minutes of cloud on that day, and sort of it's in that time period where I passed her. Yeah, so I'd say she's about 25. Well, she came up to me initially, going back to last year, asking if I was basically single. But at the time it was happening, there was a load of people outside giving it some around the back to where she told me she lives, threatening to bash me and mistaking me as the name Saven. And there's also people passing me in the street in that specific time period when I was speaking to her. And it's also in the same time period I was waiting for the last bus home before they changed the bus timetables. So I said we can meet up the following day at a specific time, because some of the information content that came out made me a bit nervous. So yeah, the following day she didn't turn up, and then I didn't see her for quite a long time. Well over a month, 2 months, I can't remember how long. And then the times after that I seen her, she's with a boyfriend, and the boyfriend's a bit well, he sort of, when he passed me, he sort of got very edgy, making me feel very uncomfortable, and saying stuff. So that was the end of that. We reached the days of where Lucy joined the community day, which she no longer goes to, and finished on the first week of January 2026. The actual last time I saw her, we was talking about me not being able to find a girlfriend and the situations that was occurring back in that time period, whatever. And she believes that I will. She thinks that I definitely find someone, and she was joking with me about it, laughing. But things turned more serious later on, because I got when she finished there and didn't go back. That's when I got reported for the information content of what I put on the internet, and it got in the hands of the people in authority that work at the specific place, and I was put on a bad behaviour contract. And when I tried adding her as a friend, she deleted my friend request, and she blocked the message box when I asked her if she still goes there on that specific day. Anyway, in the time period I knew her, she got on well most times that I went there. And that's basically it when it comes to this person. Right, so we reach further into the year of last year. We reach that person that gets on the bus at Misterton to go to Mosterton. I saw her on 2 occasions. She's got one of those types of faces, very similar to Gemma, who looks like Gemma at Burnham-on-Sea that I mentioned in the past. But I can't mention her name because this specific person really hates me. She's a very serious type person, and she's not that friendly, so, which I've discovered back in 2021. Even though she was polite and we spoke on the beach, that's all over. If I was to go with her, just supposing I did, obviously it's over, it's not going to be possible. She's turned for good. It'd be the same age gap as my real mum and dad when they were together, but that's not really applicable to that person. Anyway, she looks a bit like that, but slightly has a friendlier appearance in the face, not so stern, and maybe slightly rounded face, not by much, but a touch. Where the bus was late, and ended up in a sort of speaking to her in a conversation, plus she was speaking to someone else the other side, and she sort of looked at me as if she liked me, so I thought that's alright. And she sort of gave that sort of push that intelligent look out of her eye when she was staring at me, and like dazzling type look when I was looking at her. Then she went on the bus on another occasion when I was on that bus, not long after, a couple of days or whenever it was, and she recognised me. And she just did the. I just looked at her again and and she said something actually when she got off the bus, making it sound like similar to the suggestion to imply that she's interested. Her age is somewhere between 20 and 30. It's one, like I said, it's one of those types where you can't make out what age she is without asking the question. There's a possibility, but it's not guaranteed, that I saw her with a bloke aged about 45 on another occasion, but I'm not 100% sure whether it was her, but it looked very similar if it was, because I only got a glimpse. But then I saw her again, I think it's the beginning of this year, where she was with someone about 20. Again, I only got a glimpse, and I can't guarantee it because this wasn't on the bus, this is passing while I was on the bus. She hasn't been on that bus since. There was someone that had a smartphone. There was a lookalike to that person as well on there, but I didn't stay at the phone very long because it's rude. But it looks like, just supposing it was her, it's likely to be a different person, I don't know. Then she's not in this area, she lives a long way away, quite a way away. It's not somewhere local, can't remember the place name. But it's at least 100 plus miles away, whatever the name is, I can't remember what it was now. Right, so we come to the end of that person. Just before Christmas, there's another specific person that I was chatting to here and there, not very often, a couple of years ago I think it was. But she's got someone, and she's been made a mother. Right, the community days at a specific place started to die down, where hardly anybody were going. On the second week of January, and that's where I saw Ella. With Ella, I saw her at the time, spoke to her, she seemed like she was nice, friendly, whatever. She said she was going to be coming for several months on that day. That's the last I ever saw of her. I don't have any other information to give you, all I know is she lives in Yeovil, and her first name's that, and that she was single at that time. But didn't actually ask that question. It just came out when whatever I was saying at the time. So I had a bit of conversation while playing pool. But after that day, she never arrived again. I can give you some detail of what she looks like. She has a lot of she has long nails, and she has put some, what you call it, that styling stuff, what's it called, nail varnish on the nails, and she has many different rings and bracelets or whatever across her hand and that. She has an eye appearance which is very similar to my dad Mike, I noticed, and also has that appearance also to the celebrity Izzy Simpson that did the magic stuff on Britain's Got Talent years ago, which I saw on YouTube, in YouTube suggestions back at the time. I've only ever watched it once, but she also had the appearance of that. She's roughly about my height, slim build, and has a similar accent, for voice sounding, that is, to, I'm not sure if I'm going to say the name properly, it's a neighbour in this building. It's, I won't give her a name, I'll try and do it a different way to save causing offence. But she used to go to the community day as well on the Wednesday of where this, and she likes painting pictures, and she does very good paintings. To save me putting her name, because it might cause a bit of an issue, I don't know. Especially if I'm doing it in a storyline like this. So, also she resembles the Dance Trance tape cover with the line drawing of the head, which are jungle mixes from the 90s. In some ways, and there's a little there is a resemblance of my face also in her face to add to that. But whatever her name is, second name is, or anything like that, however details of what she uses on the internet or anything like that, or whether she's got in a relationship or whatever, I do not have a clue. I don't even know if she likes me because of what happened in the discussion that I heard earlier today when I was at the community place. They could be picking up on things that I didn't notice. But either way, I wasn't supposed to hear that conversation, but I overheard it and took it in. Straight after that specific time, she didn't go back, obviously, and I've never seen her since, and I won't see her again. The next time I see her, she'll probably be a mummy like everybody else. There's another, let me count the ones that are under the age of 30 that are left. They're all under the age of 30, the ones that are left. And also the one that's aged, she only looks like she's about 25, but she's 42, I think. And she's quite good looking for her age. She's not going there either anymore. Trying to think how many in total was left since the second week of January who were like good looking, sexy sort of females up to the age of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the people that go there, and one of the sexy workers that used to work there no longer works. But there was 2 that came in April for 2 weeks in a row. But they vanished and never came back either. There's only actually one person that I could take to that actually goes there anymore. But that specific person gave me a letter, a piece of paper for me to read, and it says, I don't want to be friends with you, and it says, I don't know if you are, it was, no, she said, I was told by a certain person that you might have a crush on me, and says whether you do or whether you don't, I'm not interested, and I don't want to be friends with you. So it's something like that's what the letter said. And so when I go there, unless she makes it clear she's happy to be friends, which is unlikely because she said forever, that is, you just have to sort of keep your space. And if you come into like where you end up in a situation where then you might have to be polite and say, alright, but you know, it's as far as it goes. So obviously they were supposed to be sorting this place out where I go to ARC, but they turned me down on all that, because that's another place to try and socialise, just see if I could find someone. Because of mental health issues of having autism, they to specific people that they and because the issue of asking a specific person if they're single, they think that you're going to go there just for trying to make relationships, and they were saying that some of the people that go ARC are quite young adults who have been through domestic abuse or sexually molested as a child, so that's why they won't let me go. They said it doesn't just happen to me, they specific people that they don't, that they had to do this. So now to dating, I've had quite a few people. They haven't turned against me. The ones on dating, apart from the scammers who try scamming me, no one online has turned against me in a way where they've decided to say that they hate me. What's happened there is they've all managed to find someone in a very short period of time, within weeks of being like you've been cursed, really. And I've had quite a few replies to say that unfortunately I've already found someone, and it's like that. So as it currently stands, as I've mentioned earlier, there's not a single person that I'm speaking to at all on the dating sites or Facebook. And there's been 2 black Africans that have added me, and that's basically it. Both of those are negative attraction. I don't really take to the black race. I don't mind any other race, but I'm not sexually attracted to the black race. Or if I am, it's very far and few between, because they just don't seem to be my type. And the other problem you've got is those that are so hot, those that are very good looking, very sexy, or those that are attractive or basic attraction, they're all mothers. The only ones that aren't are the ones that look like a back end of a whatever. So, and I don't take to that type. In actual fact, even 15 years younger than me, for some reason these ladies on dating sites seem to have a rougher skin appearance than I have at the age of 44. And they're uglier and older than people that abused me as a child, which I mentioned on most video, most audio recordings. I've not had anything in my whole life. Never been lucky enough. But they still bring up the old Wayne business, and they still bring up the Michael Jackson prostitute when these issues occur. Now, I've already documented all this sort of stuff. That these are like sly traps to make you look like you've had sex when you haven't, basically. There are documentaries on my older YouTube channels which I've had to write down before doing it, because of how complicated and complex and how crafty this setup has been in the past. So yeah, right, so as it currently stands, all psychic readings are through, with a brand new psychic reading with no hope at the moment, and days are going to get a bit more worse, so unfortunately, on top of the no good news that's already occurred over the last 44 years. So yeah, great reading. I don't know if I'll pay for another reading. I might just give it a week or so. I just want to give it a bit of time, because then, sort of may do, may not. Maybe leave it about a month. Just give it some space, because they are expensive, and I'll probably do it like online or a phone call reading. I don't know yet, but there doesn't seem to be much good hope, especially when you've been predicted someone. But when I was given the name of that person that fell through, I was absolutely shocked. It was not Olive at all. It was Ella. I should have audio recorded it sneakily to get the evidence of this. But at the end of the day, these spirits are either getting confused or telling them different things or whatever. Or they could actually be demons like the biblical, like the Bible, the Holy Bible says. But getting the name, giving 3 different names is a bit, to me seems a bit out of place. You know, today Ella, the psychic online said Olive, but also said it could be called Flo. And then you had the one where I went to Glastonbury, who I saw in person a couple of days before, who also said Olive. But whatever it is, whoever it is, whether it is that person or whether it's another person, it's true. And I did mention, if it falls through, it's got to be replaced, because they did say that it's set in stone and it's not going to fall through. And it never came true. The reading just collapsed. And also you've got to take into account all this organised force or setups or loud bikes being tied to erections or whatever. All that's increased as well. Even in the time period where this specific person was supposed to come into my life. So it's kind of conspicuous, really. It's sort of, you know, how all these people are turning against you or finding a partner within a week later of actually knowing you. It's like it's being done deliberate, do you know what I mean? But there's not much else I can say on it. I don't really know. But yes, it's just, incidentally, Olive, I was listening to Olive what's the track called? You're Not Alone. And it does mention, I'll wait until the end of time for you. Well, I guess it is the end of time with how do I put it? Russia and Ukraine, you know. But obviously, but then again, when I was looking the other day on the biblical meaning of Ella, it mentions over on that, so does it on Olivia, on religious names. Whoever it was supposed to be, I haven't got a fucking clue, but that reading, whoever it was, has gone right through, even though they said it's set in stone. Many people have said, try contacting and see if there's any family members or relatives or friends, especially one specific lady who was I was speaking to just as a friend, going back to 2016, 18 area, I can't remember the year. And she said that if you want sex, you won't get that with someone like me who's offering sex or whatever. You'd have to do it with someone you know in person. And because I don't know anyone in person, and never had any friends in the area where I used to live. I have friends in the Oval because they're not so sinister as other areas. However, you've still got those sinister people out there, but there's still about 10-15% out there that are not sinister. Where the area I used to live, right through my whole life, there's been basically 99% all sinister people, because especially in Bridport and Burnham. But and North Peverton as well had it. Yeah, so you couldn't go in if you went into like a restaurant or whatever, and someone, you know, it's ended up in, you know, chairs and glasses flying across the table, you know, people shouting their heads off, and you have to leave the destination. That's the sort of behaviour it used to be like, up until about just over 10 years ago. where it got a bit more settled and I was able to socialise more, but I was being mistaken as two specific people's names, Liam and Sven. So yeah, but since July last year till today, I've made more friends in that time period than I've made in my whole life. In my whole life I've not made that in quantity as I did in just a year gap, if that. Everything is new, so whatever comes through now is new. But at this minute in time, I'm walking around Yeovil and everybody's mother. And there are people below the legal age of sexual consent, or look like they're younger than that are mothers, which is not very helpful at all, because I'm not going with someone else's mistakes. If you go back 20 years ago, my enemies have actually told me, saying you've got to go with no, they're saying they're deliberately going to make them pregnant, saying you're going to have to go with a stale piece of shit that I've used, or something like that. And that's exactly what's being thrown at me today. And exactly what all my enemies have said in the past is what I'm being told to go with today, when I've not had anyone in my whole life. And I'm even being told by people in authority that you're going to have to go with a mother, or you're going to have to go with a stale piece of shit if you're looking for someone. And this is why I've turned against Jesus Christ and Yahweh, the creator God of the material matrix. The permanent fall occurred in April this year, and I'm not able to let it go. Even if I get anyone, I will never forgive Jesus or the Creator for the way He's mapped out my life, because you've got to take into account, in my previous life, I mentioned this on other videos, 20 years ago a psychic told me, my mum got the reading for me, someone from America, to give me a past life reading to see what my past life was like. And I was sexually abused every day as a little girl. And then obviously when I grew up, by my early 20s, I died tragically, but it wasn't mentioned how I died tragically, and I never managed to get a partner or have sex in my previous life. This life is turning out the same, and what happens when you're born again in your next life. And Jesus Christ also made it clear on the religious front that in heaven or hell there is no sex. There's only on the material matrix realm, earth. I'm not sure if heaven or hell in the Christianity religion is a material realm, but I think there are higher gods than the Christian gods. Even those that have had rapture dreams on YouTube, say 5 years ago, where Jesus Christ near-death experience, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, even some of those people have give it some with me when I messaged them, or have so it's like it everywhere. And if you go to a church or whatever, I have had a bad behaviour contract, kind of, not bad behaviour contract as such, but a letter. Someone in their 30s reported me because I went into a conversation saying I'm single, and it offended her. And it got reported to the main, I've forgotten what you call it now, the head officer of the church, which is higher up than the people that work at the church. I've forgotten the commission, I'm not sure what it is, something or other. And then I was put on that, I was given out a letter. Right, so you can't, that's another thing. I've mentioned this to people on dating, mostly people that I speak to in America, and they're always agreeing with me. They always sort of agree, and they're saying it's really ridiculous and stupid that the way people are reacting when you do this. And there is even photographic evidence of conversations I've had on dating sites from the genuine ones in the UK, and they said they just can't believe the way that what was being replied. They just say, basically you've had replies saying, "You're absolutely right. I'm shocked," and stuff like that. But they all do it in the UK, or this area anyway. So, like I said, I've turned against Jesus and I've turned against Yahweh. Yahweh is also known as Jehovah, is the same God, or Yah, or Jah. In Jamaica, Jamaicans worship Yahweh as well, and so do Muslims. They worship Allah, which is basically the same God as Yahweh, just a different abbreviation that they use for their religion, but it means Yahweh. There is documentaries on the internet that explains that, to give you more if you want to work on that principle. Like I said earlier, if I did get someone, I would not forgive God. But what I would do is I would care for that person I go with, and I would look after that person I go with, and I would never hurt that person, I would never cheat on that person if I manage to get anyone, and it's someone that I like and someone I can fancy. Obviously it's going to be a second-class person, so it's going to have to be a stale person. Like I said, I have rights to turn against God, but that person will be loved, like I just said. But I don't believe that day is going to come true, and other people are starting to have their doubts as well, which is not very uplifting for my moods when I'm getting very low, because obviously they know that there's not many people that are single, and people are saying it's going to have to be done before you're 50 or it's too late, and there's not many years left because I'm 44 already, coming up 45. There's one person recently, I can't remember how long ago it was, but it's definitely in the last few weeks, 2 weeks or whatever, that was saying that it's still not too late to go with that specific person who I mentioned, which is Ella. She said it's a fine line. This person is an American bloke that I was speaking to, mentioning that name in conversation. You say you're hitting it fine, but only just. He said you're hitting a very fine line with the big age gap, but if you could both work around it, he said that wouldn't be a problem, but only just on the knuckle, sort of very close, if you get what I'm saying. Any older, it'd be too late. But unfortunately, there's no communication with that specific person. Now, he knows about the age gap problem in the UK, because he was living in the UK about 15 years ago, and left about 11 years ago, something like that. I can't remember the year he said now, but he was in the UK for about 4 or 5 years, and he went back to America because he didn't like it in the UK because of the behaviour problems and the attitude everybody had. So that's what happened there. So I wasn't actually dating this person or anything like that. It's just someone that was like on that specific dating site. You had like a page where you could make friendship as well and communicate with it. I was only on there for a short period of time because it only lets you have a certain amount of time free, with a few coins that are free. And once those coins ran out, I just left it. Anyway, it's time to end this recording. Hey?
I read on the internet.
What's that?
They're going to legalise paedophilia in Europe.
I didn't know that.
So if you go on holiday, you can bring them to go.
Oh.
Have you noticed, like, a lot of underage girls nowadays are dressing inappropriately?
That's because they're all getting off with each other before the legal age of consent.
So there is.
right across the internet and all the images on Google and other places. You see these girls about 10 posing or doing kiss poses or putting their 2 fingers up right across the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't need to search for it, it just comes up randomly.
Okay.
So what sort of age?
I do fancy underage girls though.
Hey?
I do fancy underage girls.
Yeah.
What were you going to ask me, sir?